You could actually do the green screen on the background there. Guys, if you're
Yeah,
just joining us, F5 report, good morning. Good morning. 8 a.m. on a beautiful Tuesday morning up here in the Northeast. I'm joined today by my buddy, Paul Vincent. Paul is an attorney specializing in commercial real estate transactions, high volume stuff, high level stuff. And it's exciting to have Paul on the show and to talk a little bit about, what's happening, Paul.
Hey, not too much. I don't know about you guys, but there's this coronavirus that's kept me at home, so it's been a little different. But we're all surviving. Yeah, I don't know if it's just on my street or not. I haven't been able to tell. I haven't left.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that. That must be an Ohio thing, maybe.
Yeah, people talk about it a lot on Facebook, but I don't know if it's just me or not. They do.
I haven't seen a thing about
it. That's right.
How long has it been going on in your neighborhood?
Things are good, man. People are able to talk more than ever, so I'm on the phone all day long. Before you know it, it's 5:45, and my kids are scratching at the door, wondering what their bozo dad's doing. So yeah, man, things have been good. There's a lot of people are still, just like you, doing all sorts of cool commercial real estate stuff. There's still, there's a lot of opportunity today. There will be way more opportunity tomorrow. So people are just kind of squaring up, trying to get ready for that.
So let's speak to that for a second, right? I mean, have you seen, and maybe you could talk about specifically the type of projects you're into, but have you seen anything change, slow down, paces pick up? Because I'm hearing a lot of mixed reviews, especially in the commercial world. I was on the phone yesterday with a guy who does mezzanine financing, and he was telling me that a lot of his bigger commercial jobs effectively have gotten cheaper. Prices are coming down as this thing happens, but also they're more effective, more efficient because the bigger jobs are sucking up the manpower and so forth. Do you see anything change in the industry as far as maybe purchases or, whatever piece that you're involved in?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the financing is tightened up. Maybe not like money is dried up, but just banks and lenders, brokers, everybody's just kind of apprehensive about diving into anything because they don't, I had a couple projects that were to close right around when we all shut down, and those were put on halt. Not that they're not going to close, but they're just delayed. So, I see a lot of, noticeably frustrated sellers out there thinking that buyers can do something about it, but they can't. So my big thing to people is, hey, be patient. You've owned this thing for 15, 20 years. What's another, hopefully 4 weeks. So we've been dealing a lot with EMD. Every seller on earth wants more EMD, which I think is totally goofy and a waste of resources. But, so we talk a lot of sellers off the ledge for that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel it's like this dichotomy of from what my experience talking to people, it's like 50% of sellers are given reductions to try to keep the deal alive.
Right. Yeah. Right.
The other 50% are like digging their heels in, like I want more. I mean, this is I got one of our deals right now. It's doing that. And we're like laughing, like, dude? If we don't buy this, who else is going to do it? You know what I mean? Like,
no, I mean, yeah. For sure. I think the leverage I think is totally backwards, but a lot of my clients are on the acquisition side. So, it's easy for me to say that. I can understand why sellers, one, I think a lot of it, especially if it's coming from a broker, is about puffing. Like, hey, we got 6 guys waiting in the wings that all have better offers than yours. So you better throw some EMD money. And we all know they're full of crap. So, we see a lot of that, but I don't, when I was an infant in 2008, I just was getting through law school. And I wasn't doing anything I'm doing now. So, I don't have a great perspective on what it was like, 12 years ago, but everything I read, any hustler that's been through it, it doesn't feel quite as scary as it did back then. So, but time will tell, I guess. So
I want to thank you for admitting that, because I feel like right now people are, there's a lot of, entrepreneurs and leaders out there that are kind of being shamed for not being through a cycle yet. You got these guys who are like, oh man, if you didn't live through the 90s,
who was here for Black Friday in 1929? If you weren't, you're an amateur. Yeah,
I'm telling you, that's just making me so. It's just getting me so pissed lately. I mean, look, I got into the game in 07. I mean, I felt a little bit of it, but I'm like, I'm not sitting here telling war stories about the last recession that we fought through. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're a business owner, you gotta be nimble.
Yeah, you got to be. And and it's easy for me to say, and maybe I'll be living on the street next week. I don't want to impress upon anybody like this is easy by any means, but I do think if you look back on situations that kind of went down, it's because something either was over leveraged or overpriced and was purchased and wasn't really a plan to get rid of the thing. So, I do think there's been the internet is a vast, galaxy of information. So I think a lot of people have gone. Yeah, that's cool as well. But you can find if you dig, you will find some good nuggets. And I think people have, even like our friend Tim, right? I mean, he's taught a lot of people on buying right, because if you don't, you will take a dump and you will have to give it back. So, just like your deals you got going on, these, and I don't know what you want to talk about here, but these storage units are going to be very attractive to investors because you're buying at a good price. And even if you don't, fill them up 100%, there's still plenty of room. So it's always about buying. That's where you make or lose money. And hopefully people keep that up.
Well, I love that industry. And the funny thing is, I was just saying this to an investor yesterday that, we've flipped hundreds of single families over the last decade or so. And, everyone did this 4 years ago. It was like 2017, the market's going to shift. It's going to be 18 for sure. It's definitely going to be 18. Oh, it's 19. It's 19. And then it was 20. And then we all saw that even at the beginning of 2020, people were saying, oh, you're good until 2021, right? This thing just accelerated the process, right? It was just like overnight, market shifted, everything's down. We're having twice as many conversations with investors. Everybody's scared. It's all natural stuff, right? But we've been 2 years into setting up, these deals that me and you are doing now. And that's because you had to see it coming, right? I think what frustrates me is the guys that, are going to go down, and it's because they did nothing to shift, nothing. Everybody looks like a genius in a hot market, you know what I mean? But if you're not pivoting, I mean, did you see any of that?
Yeah. So, I had and I think a lot of guys were actually saved by this. I had 2 or 3 closings that were upcoming where I'm like, there was just too many magical numbers used to make it where they were going to really be able to sustain through any sort of occupancy decline. So this has been, I think, it's obviously been frustrating and people haven't taken down deals that they wanted, but I do think there is been some people that have been blessed by the misfortune because it wasn't going to survive, man. I mean, and anything in commercial goes up and down. So if you don't have enough room to cover that debt service and to satisfy your investors, I mean, it can go down pretty quick in a month. So, and another thing that I've seen is communication has really improved. One, like you just mentioned, for investors, like it's a lot of work. I know you don't want to make those calls, but you have to. So there has been much better, I think, communication from landlords, from syndicators, sponsors that are taking down these deals to communicate, to reassure people like, hey, I'm on it. And the same for landlords. You got to talk to your tenants if you want them to react when you need them to. So
100%. We were sending letters out to our tenants a month ago,
it's great, man.
April 1st, before April 1st rent, communicating with investors. Like, I think if you're the kind of person that's going to bury your head in the sand, like, look, let's face it, 1 month of income is a game changer for most people. It's a 10th of a year. You know what I mean? Like some people that 3/4, now it's been almost 8 weeks, right? Like, it's going to be a major game changer. What do you see as the long-term kind of repercussions for that for your clients?
Yeah, kind of going along the same lines. If you're prepared, it'll be a little easier. Nobody's going to have an easy time. There's going to be, if you have 100 units and they're all single families, I think it's just a numbers game. It depends how well you kind of prepare for this sort of thing. If you have a bad relationship with tenants and you've been unresponsive and you kind of stink about calling back or handling their issues, whether you think they're big or small, you're going to have a hard time having them open up and you trying to get that relationship. So I think if you're prepared, it's going to be easier. I think if you're unprepared, you better get to work because we got May 1st coming, and just like with everything, and this kind of goes with your 17, you're 18, you're 19, you're 20, everything's going to tumble at some point. Everyone thinks maybe May 1st will be the tough time. I mean, my hope is that people keep kind of patching plans together to get through it, and but it's hard to say. Of course, everyone likes to speculate the day away. I think you just kind of focus on your day to day and keep plugging towards getting something done.
How about new deals, Paul, as they're coming in? Are you making some effective change inside the due diligence, extending periods, and anything like that on the contract side?
Yeah, I make sure my client. So everybody thinks like, hey, I'm going to go after this, go direct to seller, or they've gone to a broker and say, hey, put me in the top of the line because I'm going to be a 30-day close. I mean, I tell people right now, if somebody has a heartburn on you asking for a minimum 90 or 120, or just put a question mark like the parties. You need to set those expectations early. So just say, hey, look, I'm an operator. Whether or not you've done a deal or not, you can say you're an educated person, whatever it is. But make sure they know that there's no way this thing's going to get done within 90 days. The goal is 90 to 120, but like I'm not going to put on my LOI that I'm going to close this thing like we used to, because there's no way. Because just getting lenders nailed down, like to a consistent understanding of where they're going to land, that's taking brokers all over the place. So
I mean, lenders, any of your due diligence. I mean, we have engineers that are MIA on us because they're not doing field as much. We have, so it's like I think the challenge becomes that there's just a lot more challenges than there used to be. Like you're not getting a single family home closed in 30 days, let alone
no way
opportunity that there's going to be more. There's going to be more guidance, more overlays now, more underwriting, and they're going to be paying closer attention to that loan, of course. Anything crazy? So like this just kind of blew my mind. Our governor the other day made it so that depository accounts for our tenants can be used to pay rent. Right. I want you to take that in for a second because it's mind blowing. For those of you that aren't really in the industry, don't understand. Maybe you're not a landlord. You don't understand this. The security deposit is there to protect both the tenant and the landlord.
It's supposed to be a win-win. Yeah.
It's supposed to be a win-win, and now they've said basically, landlords, you're fucked. If the tenant wants to use to pay rent.
That's exactly right. That's the sixth F.
Yeah, that's me summarizing the bill, right? Is there anything crazy like that going on around the country that you see so far?
I mean, there's been, I think, local governments like city side that are trying to forbid things like evictions, and I try not to pay any attention because it's a terrible dark rabbit hole that I don't like going down. One, you're never going to find a decent debate about it on the internet. But two, it just adds more anxiety, right? So I think if it's in your market, you should know what you can or can't do. Don't worry about some neighboring bozo mayor that is making it so. One of the things, I think one of the worst things that's happened through this is the mixed messaging on things. Yeah. When it was said that you can't evict X, right, under whatever circumstances it was, the federal or the state or the local, like it probably didn't mean what they meant it to mean. So right out of the gate, from a tenant's point of view, right, if they're on a hard time, they're like, okay, sweet relief, and then they're kind of closed on what the real deal is. So I think words are powerful, especially in times that are stressful. So you got to make sure you get your shit right. And I think that's why it's been important that landlords have reached out, letting people know by writing first that, hey, we're going to try to work with you, whether we get a new, whether we do a new lease, a new 12-month lease where we tack this stuff on at the end or whatever it might be. It's good to see that communication rolling because I think long-term that'll help everybody.
And, by the way, I mean, just so we're clear, I don't want to sound like some elitist landlord who's pissed off that we can't collect rent and pay bills. Like the bottom line is I'm an tenant as well. What they're not setting up proper expectations that like, hey, you don't have to pay your rent. You're not going to get evicted, but you're going to have to pay your rent at some point, right? Like this is it's not a gift.
Yeah. And so that's security deposit deal. Yeah. No, the security deposit deal. It's like, okay, an argument can be made that could actually help landlords too. Like, hey, you're off the hook. It used to be that like in Ohio, you have to give this 30-day notice of what you've done with that money. You can't just apply it towards rent without, a number of things happening. So it can help a landlord. It can be a way to end a lease, but that's not how it's presented, and that's probably not how it's heard. A tenant may think, sweet, I'm off the hook for a month, but that's not the idea. So I think, that's the problem with mixed messaging. That's a problem when you have governors or mayors or presidents of people that don't know what it's like to be on both sides, right? Like aren't being advised like, hey, how is this going to be heard by a tenant that's under a stressful spot? So they're just, just like with everything, everything's underwhelming and you're like, boy, you could have really done that a lot better. So
Yeah. I think it's frustrating from both sides. My biggest challenge is the way the expectations were laid out, though, right?
Yeah,
It's
for sure, man. Right.
It's the same thing with, a mortgage is a little bit different, right? You get furlough, what do they call it? Extended, or it's not furlough.
Forbearance, yeah.
Forbearance, right? You get forbearance. That's one thing, right? Because you can always tack those payments on the back end, and there's ways to manipulate a mortgage. But a mortgage is for 15, 20, 30 years, right? A tenancy is a year-to-year thing. When does it all get caught up? I think those are the questions that a lot of people are trying to figure out answers to in a quick way, because it's all happening fast.
Yeah, and I think you just got to be creative. Put your thinking cap on. How is this going to work? If you know your tenant, and your tenant's like, "Hey, I'm laid off, but I'm a barber, or I'm a whatever it is," and you can kind of game plan like, "Hey, well, according to the news today, you might be back in action in some capacity to make some money, May 15th or whatever it is. So maybe we're only dealing with 2 months. Let's do a new lease. We tack those onto the end, or some addendum or whatever it is. But you got to be creative. I mean, it's not gonna, like you said, you can't put your head in the sand. Stuff isn't gonna work out that way. So
the beauty of this thing is the slowing down effort, gets us more present, allows us to communicate more. These, like, if you're a landlord or a tenant, this is the time now, right? I mean, I've gotten some of the, first of all, we've collected, knock on wood, a really good percentage of our tenant, tenant income. We haven't seen a lot of people slip off, which is good. And I've heard that kind of same thing around the industry with the top level, operators that I know that they're doing, they're doing it professionally, right? They're communicating, they're talking to the tenants, they're letting them know what's available to them and so forth. And I think that communication only adds to being a better landlord, a better relationship there. But at the end of the day, like you said, I think there's so many creative ways to do it without maybe dipping into the depository account. But only time is going to tell what that ripple effect.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really going to stink when these leases are up and there's nothing to clean the carpets. I mean, that's real money. So just like everything, wasn't well planned, and and it's mostly on a shoestring. Like, hey, I hope this works out. It's the best I could come up with in an afternoon. So,
and the upside is, hopefully we learn from this thing, right? I doubt this is the first one of my lifetime, but I doubt it'll be the last, right?
I think this is going to be, something we deal with. My hope is that at the most every decade, but who knows? I mean, my big concern is like, shit, seems like we've done a pretty decent job. I hope we don't deal with some spike, late summer or some bummer like that, and then school gets effed again, and that just, it's been tough. I think it stinks for kids. I got 9, 6, and 4, and thankfully they all get together, so they have their little tribe every day together. But like for those kids that are home by themselves, I mean, that just stinks. So
yeah. No, I never even thought about that until you just said that. Like, kids that are single kids by themselves.
Yeah, man. I mean, our neighbor kid, we talk. He's good friends with my kids, but my kids are only out with, our weather sucks. I don't know about you, but the last month has been like unbearable. Yesterday was the first day really to get outside, and that poor young neighbor kid who's all by himself pretty much all day with his parents trying to be productive and him doing school stuff. It's like, that really sucks. So
I gotta tell you, not to rub it in, but we've had such amazing weather this 6 or 8 weeks that it's been like, okay, cool, I can deal with this, right? I'm getting a little
rubbing it in.
Yeah, you had snow on the ground last week, didn't you?
Dude, yeah, I know. Don't remind me. So
what a mess.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, no, the weather here has been really good, knock on wood. I think the biggest concern is what happens if this thing drags, if it goes into the summer. What people, I mean, around here we have a shore economy, right? People go down the shore, down the beach.
Yeah.
It's a whole vacation mode, economy. And if that gets kind of slowed down, what's that going to do to the economy, and what's it going to do long term? And people have second homes down there. I mean, there's a lot of concerns, about what the summer is going to look like should this thing drag on. But I think a lot of people's concern is, a second wave of this. Like what people I don't think understand is that we don't have a cure for this. We don't have a vaccine.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like, all of this work that we've done staying at home is now starting to plateau. That's great. But you jump back out into public and start spreading this thing again, we're just right back to square one.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I think people, though, I don't know about you, I have seen people washing their hands more. There was never a men's room that I think I saw a dude 100% walking out. So hopefully the grown-ups have learned they got to wash their hands. So
that's so true. So true. Sneeze in your arm, like cover your mouth.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty
And
amazing.
what about the courtesy? So many people are letting you through, the door. That never happened. So
yeah,
silver lining. That's good.
There's some silver linings here. I mean, there's possibilities here that we might come out of this thing better than we went into.
That's right. Better humans after it all shakes out.
A lot of people think it's a reset button. The adversity comes, things change, shifts happen. But a lot of times those adversities you face yourself like in these environments, you find out like, man, I should have been doing that all along. Did you guys find that in your business that maybe there's some efficiencies later
on? So one of the things we're doing a lot of is just reaching out to grow the network. So, I mean, I'm doing at least probably an hour or 2 hours of like strange calls where, I send an email off or I ask somebody to show me to somebody. I do at least an hour or two a day. So my network through this has been like something I focused on every day. And it's really, I mean, I had a really good call. Actually, some guys from Jersey, I'll send you their info. They, they're looking to get into apartments and they're doing a lot of single stuff. They have a couple singles actually here in Cleveland. And, and they're just trying, they're like, hey, how do I get into this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I could hopefully make some intros to you because, they got some equity partners and, so that's like a new thing yesterday. So if I have anything down in Tampa or New Jersey market or out in Cali where the one guy lived for a while, I could send them to those guys. So yeah, I'm just doing that, just kind of focusing on network because you can never know enough people. So
yeah, absolutely. We got some live callers, live watchers. If you guys are in the landlord tenant space, commercial real estate acquisition space, if you're selling commercial real estate, if you guys want to hop on live, we got a few minutes here left with Paul Vincent, our commercial real estate attorney, who is here to talk. So if you guys want to jump in live about those or ask questions, let's go.
Who wants to talk about boring legal stuff at 8:23?
Come on now, man. You got to sell it better than that.
Unfortunately, it's not much better. Now, yeah, I think, hey, look, there's a guy. It's you. Hey, you look sharp in that picture.
I know, I did. That was a few years back. I was a lot fresher back then.
The kids were younger.
Picture.
Periscope, nice.
I didn't think that the thing still existed, to be honest with you. And then we started using this StreamYard, and Periscope was one of the options. And I was like, all right, cool, we'll add it in there. And who knows, maybe somebody told me that Periscope connects with Twitter. I don't know how true that is, so don't take my word for it.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've heard of it for sure. But
I used to use it all the time about 3 years ago, and it was hot. Gary Vee used to push it hard. I think he had stock in it.
Yeah, he's a good pusher. He's a hustler, that guy. God bless his wonderful wife.
Absolutely. Is he married? I mean, he says he has a wife and kids, but
that's true. It's probably just a branding thing, no doubt.
I think it's all a hoax.
It's just branded. He's a smart guy. He's a marketing guy. Daryl Brooks is on. Daryl Brooks,
you're everywhere. What's that?
Man, no, Daryl Brooks needs to ask something.
Yeah. What's he got? Is I don't know. I don't know Daryl. Is he in the commercial real estate space?
He's a commercial empire guy. If you need someone to take on your large commercial renovation project, he's your man.
There you go, Daryl. How's it affected you, man? Let us know.
And he started 75 hard yesterday too. So tough dude.
Oh,
that's no joke.
Nice. You did that before yet? Have you done it?
So I started on a Tuesday. This is my 14th day. So the water consumption is really the hardest thing, I think.
For those that don't know, 75 hard, it's I actually say it's more of a mental challenge than a physical challenge. It's definitely both. My legs fucking hurt. But two workouts today, one outside, one inside. Right? They could both be outside, I think, but as long as one of them's outside. Read 10 pages in a book. Drink a gallon of water. What else, Paul?
So you got to read 10 pages, gallon of water, 2 workouts, and stick to a diet. So I'm just doing fasting. So. And
the hardest part to remember is you have to take a picture of yourself in the mirror every day.
The picture. Right. Yep. It's kind of gross every day. You got to think like, is this really it?
I have a feeling, Paul, that you might not be on day 14 if you forgot the picture, bro. You might have to go back to day 1.
I do the picture at about 11:15 every night. I got to get back out of bed. And you say, you dummy, you didn't take the picture. So.
Gabe's on day 14 as well. Gabe's in my mastermind. He's a good dude.
Gabe, what's up, buddy?
Well, I don't know if you know Gabe. Due diligence is going to be a challenge in this new environment. What are your thoughts? Well, Daryl, we just hit it a couple minutes ago, but some highlights again, Paul. you don't mind.
Yeah, due diligence. Set expectations early. Do not say you're going to close in anything under 60 days. There's no chance you're going to close anything in 60 days. Of course, if you have some debt or equity investor that's going to fund the whole thing, yeah, you can do maybe 60 days. But don't even set that oddball suggestion because everyone's going to be disappointed. So set it out at least 90 days. Try to get your EMD as low as you can. I'm a big proponent of starting at zero. No seller wants to hear that, but I think one thing due diligence wise is try to prove yourself early that you're a serious buyer. Then EMD won't be so important, but it's really just a broker thing. I don't think many sellers really give a hoot. It's brokers like to have that stuff. Oh yeah, Daryl, no alcohol. That's right. But yeah, due diligence, a lot of time.
For a lot of people, that's the hardest part. I don't know. For me, I mean, I'm a big wine guy, but for some reason, I don't have any problem giving up the alcohol. I don't understand that, but it is what it is. Right. On the EMD piece that you were just talking about, though, I love that recommendation. Start as low as possible because here's the drill, guys. If you need to extend, what happens? The deposit goes hard. The deposit gets extended. There's more deposits. So, like, if you guys are in a process, especially one that requires some due diligence, zoning, whatever. You're going to find that, if you need more time, they're not just going to willy-nilly give you more. Oh, here, you have another 90 days. Like they're going to say, I'll give you 90 days, but for X, right? So, the lower you can start, the better off I think you're going to be in the end. Yeah. We have a big deposit on them. I'm afraid they're going to ask for more.
Yeah, it's not cool. So, and my thing you stress right out of the gate is the obvious narrative that capital is king right now. Like, why would I have this money sitting in this stupid escrow account? Doing absolutely nothing. It can pay for my engineers. It can pay for my survey. It can pay for my architect, and all that shit costs a ton of money. It can be what I get to bring to the table to close this damn thing, and while it's working, while we're going through due diligence. So I suggest starting at zero. If you can get through that, that's excellent. If you can't, go as low as you can because you need that money to pay your employees, to do the due diligence, to travel, go to the asset, spend it on that. Don't go by Google or the broker pictures because they're always terribly false. So start low.
I know what you're getting into. What are your thoughts on value add properties? I don't think my thoughts have changed. How about yours, Paul?
No, I think, the tough thing might be getting those renovation loans here in the near term, but that's where a lot of people play because it's the way to make the most money in commercial real estate is buying a turd, polishing it for a while, and then refining it out at a much increased value. So, I think everyone's play is still going to be that way. At least, our folks. If you're some giant fund that just needs to serve its investors 5 or 6%, then you can just go after stabilized stuff. But for people getting into commercial, value adds where it's at. So,
yeah, absolutely. And I also think that the numbers are the numbers, right, guys? Like things, what's going to change and tighten up are the terms, more money in escrow. Like there's going to be some more stringent pieces, and maybe the cap rates change slightly. But at the end of the day, right, the property's worth what the income is, and as long as you can do the right thing to get that income up, then I don't think it's going to change much. I do think you're going to have a lot of people. Start to dissipate from the market, right? The newbies and stuff like that, naturally, I think are going to slow down a little bit as this thing goes on.
Yeah, I think one thing everybody should learn now. There's going to be all these deals kind of spilling around. Is know what you're looking for and be patient. Like don't take the very first thing that looks like a good deal. Make sure it's a really good deal, and then do some more due diligence, and then make it sure it's a really, really good deal. Because there will be a lot. So you don't want to take a deal early and then find one a week later that looks a lot better and is a better market. And be patient because that deal you looked at that you like today will more than likely be there 90 days from now. So be patient, which is hard, but keep it up.
Yeah, and I think you can negotiate a little bit harder now because if you're in a strong position to buy and you have the backing, there's going to be a lot less competition out there. So you can be patient. You can negotiate a little bit better. Last thing we'll talk about, Daryl said seller financing and subject to thoughts.
So Daryl, thanks for the rapid fire here. Seller financing, it's something you should ask at the outset of every kind of interaction with the seller. It can sometimes muck up getting the actual financing, but if you can do that for 2 years or something and say, hey seller, you'll get the cash flow, I'll take all the tenants and toilets off your hands. If you can use that as a way to get into the property, obviously that's a great way. And there's a couple ways to structure that where it can make sense for the landlord too. So yeah, if you can do that, ask early and often. As far as subject to, same idea. In this market, if it's a big asset, a bank may be paying a lot closer attention than they do on the residential side. You'll see a ton of a lot of resi folks that are doing subject twos. Banks don't have time to see what's going on at 123 Main Street in western suburbs of Cleveland. But if it's a $4 million commercial property, those bank folks have a lot more intimate knowledge of what's going on in that asset. They will actually, not all the time, but much more often, see what's being recorded against that debt. So be careful of that. You don't want to accelerate.
They could possibly call a note too. There's we did it in our Real Talk for Real Estate Kings group, guys. If you're interested, we did an entire a good buddy of mine, Nick Phipps, a subject to expert. I think you know him, Paul.
Yeah,
we did it
Nick
about a month ago. Yeah, sweet. Good dude. So anybody who's interested in subject two can go to that group and check it out. Paul, we're just getting correct. We crossed our 30-minute mark here. I want to be respectful of your time. Did I miss any questions? Anything else we want to cover?
What I guess I'll ask you one. What have you done differently during this at-home time than you were doing a month ago?
I love it, man. Yeah, no. So one of the biggest shifts that we had to make, actually, we had an in-house call center for our acquisitions team to go out there, and we hired literally. So there was a Sunday. I have to go back and look at the date now because I've told this story a few times, but there was the weekend that everybody said, like, okay, the states are going to shut down, stuff's going to start to lock up. Like, everybody did. None of us knew really what was going on yet. That Sunday morning, I got up and I shot a video for my team, and I just said, look, if you're non-essential personnel, stay home. If you don't have to come to the office, don't go there. Just we'll figure this thing out. Everyone's going to get paid. Relax. We'll keep going forward. And then literally the following day, Monday morning, we had 10 new call center reps that were supposed to show up and start work that morning. Yeah. And we texted every one of them and said, go home, log in. We're going to do a Zoom call at 9 o'clock, whatever it is, and we'll go from there. And we literally shifted our entire office-based company to a completely virtual environment in 36 hours.
Nice, man. Good for you.
Yeah, I'm proud of that. I think that the challenge overall is going to be, I think office buildings are going to start to take a hit. There's a lot of companies out there that I think are learning through this thing that, like, hey,
for sure,
we can be virtual, and maybe more productive and maybe more effective, maybe more efficient. I think it's scary for some people. I think it's a necessary shift for others. I look at a lot of these things, man. Like even the homeschooling process, I think to myself, I think there's gonna be a lot more kids getting homeschooled next year because they now realize, for some it's super difficult, and I don't take it away from the parents that are working and trying to do both. Right. But like for some people, it's like, man, my kids are getting done school in 2 hours. Even if they were like real school, they can do this.
I agree, man. Yep. Yeah, we're trying to focus and get done by lunch, and it's like, hey, we got all day.
Every day. Kids are done by 10:30, and it's like, man, I realize it's a reduced curriculum, but at the same time, you're seeing the holes in our education system. You're realizing that, like, hey, they can do this virtually. They can be better at it. They're paying more attention. So I think there's a lot of shifts coming up down like that direction. But
yeah, I mean, I'm actually, I think I'm more productive here than I am driving off to an office and dicking around most of the day. So I've really enjoyed it. I love seeing my kids all day.
So same here.
Good. Yep.
Same here, man. So Paul, it's awesome talking to you, brother. I appreciate you being on the show today, guys.
Man. Thanks for the invite.
What's that?
I said, thanks for the invite. That was fun.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Folks, if you're watching this live or you're watching the recording, you find value in what you witnessed today and you learned today, just share with your friends. That's all we ask.
Share.
Payment for being here. Sharing is caring.
That's
Appreciate you all for being on,
Thanks, buddy. You got it.